So our next guests today are Jacob Mears and Michelle Okehara from Seika Machinery. Nice to see you both today.
Nice to see you as always, Trevor.
Okay, great. So we're going to talk today about a special kind of strain and stress gauge that is sold and represented by Seika Machinery here in the United States. The brand name is Kiowa, I believe, of the stress
From
gauge.
Japan, yes.
From Japan, correct. So tell us specifically what makes these particular strain gauges so suitable and so important for PCBA assembly.
Sure. So Kiowa has started making smaller gauges suitable for PCB in general, but as well as more niche gauges meant for screws and to measure the actual bolt tension. Mm-hmm. So we have some scenarios where individuals want to monitor the stress levels of screw-mounted components on the boards, and they want to see if that's causing residual strain and issues on the rest of the board structure on other processes.
Right.
So we developed this gauge here where it is essentially a small tube that you can insert into any bolt from M3 to, I believe, M64. Mm-hmm. And what it does is it basically cuts down on a lot of the work. Before this, a lot of companies, they have to use multiple gauges and adhere it to the actual sides of the bolt, which is much more difficult to do, especially when you're actually installing components like that.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, this is quite a large bolt, but I mean, you go down to smaller devices, which are, you can hardly see that on the camera really. I wanted to do a close up, but these are for presumably anchoring things like daughter boards and things like that onto the assembly. Typically, mm-hmm. Right. So what sort of areas do you measure? You measure the stress on there, and you measure the strain. And when you say the strain, do you mean how do you measure the strain? The direction of the
So it would go from the direction of the principal force applied onto the board, depending on the general orientation of the gauge. Mm-hmm. So if you're worried about, let's say, the force like a ball grid array, you would put multiple gauges around the 4 points of that ball grid array in order to calculate where that stress is coming from at first.
Okay, so would you be looking at this the daughter board or the laminate or the ball grid array is on? Would you be measuring the strain of the laminate, the weave, basically, mm-hmm. To see how that's affected?
Yeah, that's basically how that would work there. It would be turning the bolt itself into a center.
Okay.
So this is during the reflow process, mm-hmm. during depaneling, during ICT, all of the different processes that that PCB goes through for our surface mount process.
I mean, I know that certainly earlier this week we were talking about the problems of stress and strain down at the packaging level with heterogeneous materials. But I mean, there's certainly a movement in the industry to try and move that heterogeneous compatibility further out onto the PCBA board so that there is more compatibility across the entire assembly. So this certainly make more sense. Do you have plans? Do they do anything down at the packaging level, or is it just at the board level we're talking about here?
So we do have some applications occasionally with the packaging level, mm-hmm. but they're much more focused on the board level, mm-hmm. With things like temperature cycling testing or shock testing and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So Michelle, I mean, these products are marketed through Seika Machinery. Presumably they're going to need a certain amount of customer support and backup, to apply them. So do you work through? So does Jacob then take over and
Yes.
work with the customer?
That's certainly with most of our suppliers that we represent, is that we work very closely with the manufacturer to provide the correct solution for the customer's needs and requirements. And so then we would quote on behalf of the manufacturer for our customers in North America. And their PCAS 1000 system is very much of interest because it's an automated software system where it generates a report based on the JEDEC IPC standard 9704.
Okay.
And so then, when it really, after the testing is conducted, then that software system follows the rules of the 9704 and provides a report, pass, fail. It's very, very useful for our customers.
Right. Okay, excellent.
I did also want to let the audience know as well that there is a wireless system.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
And that's a new product out
that's a
from
new
Kyowa.
product too. Okay,
Right.
so it works wirelessly. What's the benefits of doing that?
So there's some times when during the assembly process where they're actually manufacturing boards where they want to measure the stress on multiple components as it's going through that process, and it'll be on like a moving platform or like a reflow oven.
So reflow ovens, yeah. Okay.
And in that case, it's a little more difficult to manage the strain on that level because you have to follow the board as it goes through. We've seen some people manually push carts with that, very long lead wires.
No.
Yeah, and that gets difficult.
No,
So
yeah.
this kind of helps streamline that. So it's basically a wireless bridge adapter for the strain gauges. So we have a small transmitter around half the size of this bolt, really.
Yeah.
And you would directly connect your gauges up to that. I believe right now our maximum is 4 channels per transmitter. So you do that, and then it hooks up to a receiver unit within 50 meters of the actual gauges and
Okay.
transmitter.
Great.
So that makes it a lot easier to monitor the moving process.
Absolutely. No, that's quite innovative. Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. So there you go. It's quite a comprehensive system then for measuring stress and strain across the assembly. So
Okay.
thank you very much for coming in and telling us about that.
Okay, thank you, Trevor, for having us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.